All right, Screencastify. Today we're talking farming. That sounded like a scary movie. It's supposed to sound like That's better. All right, we're talking commercial gardening, fruit farming. We have some things to clean up. I don't know where, especially in these notes, these are going to go, but we got to get them done. So commercial gardening and fruit farming. Also called truck farming. So truck farming is a developed agriculture where you grow perishable goods like fruits and veggies, melons, onions, strawberries, lettuce. This is called horticulture. And this reason it's called truck farming is basically all this stuff goes on a truck. Oh, dang it. Look how many different truck horns I have. That was a long one. Okay. Horticulture is the growing of fruits and veggies and all that, all the good stuff you see in the green aisle of Safeway or Rayleigh's. It's called truck farming because all that stuff goes on a truck and it goes to the store. Easy enough? Awesome. So large farms are called agribusiness that sell as fresh produce and as canned fruit. So that's all truck farming is a form of agribusiness, which is a large farm. Makes sense? Makes sense. Frozen fruit also. Where does it happen on the world? Well, here, 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 and here. What a weird set of countries. Mostly the southeastern United States, throughout the northeast of the United States, but also in weird spots around the world. Oops, sorry. A great example of truck farming or agribusiness are cranberries. Cranberries are all pretty much come from one area, Massachusetts, eastern United States. Like pretty much every single cranberry you've ever had is from Massachusetts. And then they get on a truck, they come out this way. They're either canned or frozen or it's all agribusiness or horticulture. Fruit is particularly interesting because it's not necessarily a cash crop, but it's also not necessarily a subsistence crop. So the United States produces quite a bit of fruit. California specifically is a third of the nation's fruit. China produces, however, the most fruit by ton. India after them, Brazil after them, and which isn't shocking. Brazil has the rainforest, the most lush, wet area in the world. China has a bazillion people. India has a bazillion people, and then after them is the good old U.S. of A. And mostly we sell our fruits and veggies. In the climate regions, they go across this beautiful band. It's almost like there's some sort of geographic reason. So we're talking some subtropical climates, but mostly we are talking like humid or Mediterranean or dry subtropical climates. Not like a super dense area. You'll notice that Brazil is not like killing it with that because most of the stuff comes from these climates. They're just in a unique situation with their rainforest. We call it mid-latitude climate areas, warmer areas. Definitely not up in the north of Russia. Definitely not in the old Antarctica. But there's some problems with fruit farming. One is that there is a huge reliance on low labor migrant farm workers. We call it low labor because it's uneducated work and it's paid poorly, right? This has nothing to do with the people who are doing the work. And so in order to maintain profits, farmers actually have to pay their workers not very much. So, these are people out there busting their butts for 10, 12, sometimes 20 hours a day in the picking season who are getting paid minimum wage or sometimes even less. Agribusiness also then dominates certain crops. Strawberry is a great example. Like, I dare you to find me the strawberry that's not Dole or Driscoll. And they kind of push other people out of the fruit and veggie market because they can dominate all the steps of production. Like, they are the ones that grow the plants, they pack the plants, they sell the plants. And so they are saving money in ways that like a mom and pop farm just couldn't save money. I hope that this is still recording. I should check. I'm going to check because last time it wasn't. Okay, it is embarrassing. Boop, boop. So small farms have been decreasing over the last half century or so. So even though there are there's more farm area, there are less farms, which means large agribusiness or large farm corporations are kind of taking over the world of vegetables and fruits. Mushrooms, what another beautiful agribusiness, is owned almost entirely by a few companies. So if you look at mushroom output here, lots from one area of China, but look how many specific areas it comes in: wet areas, cooler areas, then tropical. And if you knew much about farming, you'd know that most of the mushrooms we eat are sylvan farms, because they have the space and the technology to just outproduce any other small business farmer, which means that they control all of the mushrooms that we eat as a world. And the difference between agribusiness is something called market, or the opposite is called market gardening. And market gardening is a smaller scale fruit or vegetable farm that stays local. And they're like farmer markets direct to the consumer. So local food is way, 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 way better for the world. Let's see if I have a slide on this. Well, here's a picture of a farmer's market. Neat. Because we don't have to ship all the stuff. It doesn't take as much energy to do the things, because you're eating lettuce that was picked a mile away. You'll see in Sacramento we have the farm to fork movement. That's a form of market gardening, right? So they're taking stuff local, they're selling it local. They don't use big trucks. This is not truck farming. This would be something like farmers market farming, if you wanted a different way to say it. Specialty truck farming are things like luxury crops or organic crops, nursery plants like beautiful flowers that don't really make sense to grow in an area of dense population are sometimes shipped in. And it's becoming a more attractive option. So it's kind of combining both, best of both worlds, but it's still kind of being run by agribusiness. So things like kale, arugula, and peppers, luxury crops, like large companies aren't going to produce those because they have such a small market. Kale used to be a good example of this. Let's say arugula. Not very many people make arugula, so most of the arugula is shipped in one place and then shipped out to other areas. So it's sort of like mixing market farming and truck farming. I think we got to skip through this. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so we're going to go through some issues. This is just a new set of notes. We're doing two things. Nomadism, which you're going to learn about today in your lectures. So if you haven't done those, go watch those videos and fill in your form. Pastoral nomadism has some issues. Essentially, it's desertification, which is areas turning more into a desert. And it has to do with the overuse of nomadism. So basically, the animals kind of eat up all the vegetation, they drink up all the water, they make their poo-poos, and they kind of ruin the land. And that land takes a very, very long time to restore itself. So, you can change the climate of an area by, taking all the plant matter out and all the water out. Well, now it doesn't go up into the sky. It doesn't create rain, and then that rain doesn't renew the area of water. So you can turn an area from this into this very quickly with the overuse of nomadism. Just too much grazing destroys regrowth. They will sometimes pull the roots out, and with that root will come like the nitrates in the soil, et cetera, et cetera. This is happening all over. The Niger River is a great example. It is not so much a river anymore. It's just this big desert area because their main source of food comes from nomadism. So nomadism has a huge effect on the land. It's another form of, sort of like deforestation. It removes more in a permanent way farmland. So the use of nomadism destroys the ability to grow plants. So again, now we have meat, which is really expensive, a real luxury crop for most people, destroying the space for farming, which is a more sustainable practice. Another way people get around sort of their environment is something called terracing or intensive sub-agriculture. You see this all over in China. It's the way they change the land so that they can better collect water or resources. So they can now, something just fell off me. They can now farm on mountains because they've changed those mountains. Obviously, this has a huge effect on the plant and animal life local to them. I got dandruff. So anyhow, intensive subsistence with wet rice, not dominant. Someone will go over this in your PowerPoints tonight, so I'm just going to skip on by it and trust them. Make sure I'm not forgetting something. Yep. Nope, 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 nope. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. No, 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 no. Ranching, someone will go over. Ranching South America. Make sure we'll clean some stuff up. Okay. We will go over the rest of this tomorrow. Don't forget to finish all those videos. Do your best to get them done. You got this.